let's get into it. A show hosted by Dave Farah and Jason Mahoney. There's a co-host, Audrey Drake, executive producer, Chris Jackson. And you know what, Mike? I'm going to start with you. This is another one of these morning radio shows. Mm-hmm. And I want to see what you picked up on from this, because I thought you would appreciate doing a Jocktober episode with me. You and I have talked a lot about radio over the years. I think it's one of the things that we've bonded over is our love for Opie and Anthony and just morning radio and sports talk radio and all that stuff.
Yeah, so what was glaring, I feel like this year more than any other year almost, is the difference between regular radio and podcasts. Because I almost think you doing radio shows in Jocktober is a service to the shows you bash throughout the year. Because at least those are in some way, like the terrible improv shows. Yeah, I've never heard anything like that. It's dreadful, obviously, but it's original in some form or fashion. It's amazing to me that radio shows are still doing the same horse shit that they've been doing for 60 years. It's crazy that they can't break out of their hackery.
Mike, hold that thought real quick. Okay, now we're back. Mike was just talking about how radio shows still sound exactly the same as they did 25 years ago for some reason. It makes no sense to anyone.
And the show you guys did last week, Big Bob and Jimmy or whatever the fuck their names were.
John Boy and Billy Big Show.
Yeah. They at least had they were completely hack, but you could differentiate them from other shows. They sounded
There was so much energy going on. You could tell they record in the afternoon. They're not there. It's 6 a.m. Yeah,
These two guys
shot out of a cannon.
If this was a show that Jocktober covered in 2009, I'd believe you, because it's the same boring format. They do less than other shows, which is crazy. So if you want, we could just start with my clip one. This is how they start their show every morning.
This is Dave and Mahoney.
Hello, friends. Got some good news and some bad news to kick things off today. What would you like first there, Mahoney?
Dave, why don't we start off today's show with some bad news?
Yeah, you've been talking a lot this week about pooping your pants, and you said that your stomach has been bothering you, not because you've got some sort of bug necessarily, but because you've been chiefing so many Ricolas that it is affecting your tum-tum.
Just boring horseshit like that, you and I have banter at the start of WATS. We put these people to shame with our banter because it's just prep burger
don't
stuff.
Talk like that.
No. Right?
They're putting on. None of this is real. I have an example here where they even come out and admit it's not a real show. And I thought the one thing that we've learned from Howard Stern and Opie and Anthony is there has to be some realness to it. You have to bring in your real life and have people relate to you and who you are. Not these assholes.
Well, here's what's crazy. Can I just play one more clip before we go over to yours? It's my clip 14, because I just wanted to show you, when I say they start like this every morning, think of the beginning of the last clip.
Yep.
Got some good news and some bad news to kick things off today. What would you like first there, Mahoney?
Dave, why don't we start off today's show with some bad news?
Yeah, some bad news. 4 people have found out that selling a miracle cure for COVID during the height of the pandemic is something that you cannot do, especially when you are selling people bleach.
Oh.
Yeah, so 4 members of a Florida family have been
sentenced. Literally, the setup and the cadence is exactly the same. It's crazy.
Hey, want some good news or some bad news? I will have some bad news.
Some bad
well, here comes the bad news.
This is for old people.
Well, all of radio is at
because
this
it's a whole that's familiar thing.
Yes.
Which is why it doesn't change.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they have an ongoing segment throughout the show. This show is driven by voicemail, which is weird as far as a radio show goes. They don't take live callers. Obviously, they've been burned by that a few times. Baba booey, Howard Stern's penis. God damn it.
Or more likely, they weren't getting any calls. That's the more likely option.
Yeah, good point. They have to have their wives and friends call into the voicemail. Yeah. So this is where I say it's not even a real show.
I have a rule. Leave it at the door. Don't bring any negative things going on in your life here into the show, because we need to be in a good mood, and we have a lot of work to do here today. So I never want to come in and start the day off on a negative note.
No, but this is something that just happened to you that's bad, so it's not going to affect all of us because we have very little empathy.
My mood's great. This sucks for you.
But I usually wait halfway, because my life is it has been so chaotic this last few months. I mean, everything. One day we're sitting here halfway through the show, and I'm like, hey, guys, I almost died last night. I choked, things like that.
So these chuckle fucks have to go out and chuckle fuck all morning. And the guy's like, that one time when I almost died, I waited until drive time to go into that. It's like they literally can't say anything interesting between 6 and 7:45 because people aren't listening at that time. So
how's your poopy tum-tum doing?
Yeah, I was going to say, where's the near-death story? I wasn't getting any of that in the episodes I listened to. What the fuck?
Maybe that's the same story.
There's not. I mean, the guy's fucking eating popcorn. He thinks he almost died. It's like, all right, you're fine. It'll be all right.
We've all been there. Fuck.
So the way that this show goes is you play these voicemails, and I have a bunch of examples of this. And these voicemails are supposed to be like a jumping off point for a conversation. Not a long conversation. These guys do not get long breaks. They have to wrap it up very quickly. And then we're into the sounder and we're out.
Yeah.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Am I the only one that hates fake pleasantries? Like when you go to a Dutch Brothers and those kids just pretend like they give a crap about anything going on in your life. Or you go get your hair cut and people want to talk to you about all kinds of stuff other than your hair. I wish there was a polite way to just say, hey man, I don't really feel like doing any small talk today.
Message deleted.
I mean, you got first off with your hair, there's plenty of stylists who do care and won't talk to you about boring stuff.
So the audio quality was so bad, I didn't even know what the question was.
Yeah, I didn't either.
It wasn't until the guy's like, yeah, hairstylists be talking. I was like, oh, okay. Now I understand.
Oh, well, they
fuck they're
never
talking
answer
about.
the question, by the way, because I think so. My assumption is these voicemails are left by like salespeople or something like that.
Yeah.
And my assumption is they say, hey, Gladys in sales, just call and leave a message about. I'll use the example that I like. If you want to play my clip number 8, they just say something about America so they can make a bland, generic point, I guess. I don't know what direction they give them, but I don't think it's very much.
America is awesome. I mean, you look at all the stuff going around the world, and there's a lot of heavy stuff in a lot of places. And we take for granted, I know I do, and I shouldn't, how easy we have it. Like, we get caught up in our little trivial arguments about whatever nonsense here. We got it good. We really, really do.
Yeah. I mean, we won, you may not have won Powerball, but you did win the lottery if you were born in America.
So that was after a voicemail was like, hey, wouldn't it be crazy if someone won Powerball? And they go into this rant about America. So I don't even get what the setups are for their like little bits that they're doing.
If you went to a music festival and weren't raped and tortured, you might live in America.
So be grateful.
It's a lot like the show you guys put, that Big Bob and whatever show.
It's actually not, though, because the John Boy and Billy Big show has the same kind of sounders and radio feel to it, but those guys had energy and attempts at jokes and shit. These guys have nothing. So you just heard having the conversation about talking to a hairstylist. Mm-hmm. So then they go, do you use that option in Uber where you ask the driver not to talk to you? And this turns into an Uber conversation.
Okay.
I'm very proud of how high my Uber rating is. Considering, oh yeah.
This guy's proud of his Uber rating. Does anyone know what their Uber rating is?
Who fucking cares?
I have no idea what my Uber rating is, but apparently these guys are all about it. So then the other guy is very concerned about his Uber rating.
Mine's actually at 4.82 now, so somebody else hit me with a 4-star. Oh, man.
Like, what are you doing?
I don't know.
You got to...
I don't know, man. Falling apart. Does anyone else out there have a lower Uber rating than me?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
No, he's falling apart. 4.82. I was going to pick up this guy, am I right?
Good day, sir.
Well, that's the similarity I meant with the other radio show, in the sense that you could take this dialogue and it would be perfect for like a sitcom where the background characters are having some conversation. You know what I mean? Like just generic horse shit that any two people on the planet could have if they met each other. There's no relationship that these guys have or anything.
Yep. They're just making noise on the radio so that people hear that there's noise being made. Of course, we've got Halloween coming up.
Yes.
And so we're going to find out that not only is this guy boring, his wife is also a bore fest.
I think I heard this.
And so my wife decided that we were going to get one of those 12-foot tall skeletons for the front yard.
Okay.
And then she said, but what if I get 2? And I went, that is an excellent idea.
2?
Producer Chris, very quick on the draw with that one. So this is a conversation that he decided like this will be good for the radio show. We'll talk about how, my wife wanted to get these 12-foot skeletons. But hold on, Mike. If you're thinking, I don't care about that, Carl, it gets exciting. He's going somewhere with this.
God.
Yeah.
Well, because you have to have symmetry and you balance it out. Yeah.
And like in our front yard, like there's a good place for one on each side. And so it kind of works out. But then my wife hits me yesterday with, hey, we have one on each side, but then there's the middle part of the yard. Should I get a 12-foot tall witch?
Yes.
And I said, absolutely.
Does this story have an end?
Dude, this goes on and on.
That guy goes, yes.
Yeah, I know. And I like that he goes, the way that my yard works is you can put a skeleton on either side of the house.
Oh, so
yeah.
It has a left and a right?
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
what the real estate agent said. Here's how this yard works.
You're going to love this house. It has a right side, a left side, a front, a back. Yeah.
Honey, we've made it.
Floors and walls? My God.
Yeah. Every room.
Pretty exciting stuff.
Here's what's crazy is that we clearly listened to different episodes, you and I, and Halloween decorations, I don't have a clip for it because I thought I was so bored by it, but it was still a conversation the next day.
Well, yeah, it's October. You got to get Halloween talk in every single day. I'm sure there's a PD telling them.
They've gotten more expensive this year, Halloween decorations. Can you believe that?
What about candy? What do you guys think about candy corn? Is that a good Halloween candy? I'm sure they're talking about that. Guaranteed. Okay. Here's another fun voicemail and conversation starter for us.
Please leave a message after the tone.
If you had to eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? I think I could happily survive off of California rolls.
Message deleted.
Nah, I'm getting bored of California rolls real quick. I would go pizza.
Chicken.
I was going to say chicken.
Because there's so many variations to it. But I mean, that's kind of cheating too. Eggs. I can do eggs.
But would that be the one thing you would want to eat for the rest of your life?
No, I mean, obviously I want like A5 Wagyu or something like that.
But every meal? See,
Yes.
I feel like you have breakfast pizza.
That's the
There's
question.
lunch pizza, and then you could even dress it up and have a fancy dinner pizza.
Most pizzas.
About what you like.
Every meal.
Speak for yourself. You know my life. You haven't had my breakfast pizza yet.
The answer is tacos.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, assholes. It's not chicken.
But can I tell you, my takeaway is not even how boring they are. It's that, I mean, like we said, the voicemail is probably fake. But, like, if that were a real voicemail, why doesn't the person have any relationship with the show? Like, if a voicemailer here was going to suggest the topic of Carl, what food would Carl eat every day, they would know on some level that the answer is thick, meaty cocks is what he'd love to eat for the rest of his life. This voicemailer has no relationship with these guys where there would be some inside joke or something. There's nothing with any of those.
Fuck you!
I was thinking, who
That's the gayest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
that is pretty gay. Who leaves a message for a radio show?
Yeah.
I could see in the old days you'd call in, you'd hear your voice, you're a sad loser that gets off on that.
I used to do that. I used to call it a request forwarder. I've talked about
Guys,
this.
it's that fucking dork again.
Yeah, I did call what was known as the whiner line on the Big Show here in Boston years ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
I was just a boy.
I tried to call it to Jim Rome once, but I did not get past the call screener. But anyway, go on about losers who call it radio shows, Chris.
As you were.
You were saying.
Mike was saying that these aren't real calls. And
Yeah.
they are just made up jumping off points. They don't even take the opportunity to utilize.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense. So someone just calls in and goes, if you could only have one food the rest of your life, like, they don't need a caller to introduce that topic.
The guy just starts talking about what he likes to eat.
Yeah, and the California roll.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be like, fuck yeah,
Yeah.
they nailed it.
Where do you like to get your California roll?
Yeah. I like to have generic imitation crab. I don't know about you guys. Like crab stick all day. That's what I want the rest of my life. Good stuff, guys.
I smell a rant coming.
Okay. All right, where do you want to go with this, Mike?
Okay, well, let's go with my clips 5 and 6 because I think clip number 5.
One
first
at a
of all,
time, Mike.
Well, I'm setting it up only because clip number 5 is like, why is he so passionate about this topic? And then I think clip number 6 properly displays why they get into things like this.
I shower at night.
So, and sometimes I will actually. So don't shut up. Don't make fun of me because I already know you guys are gonna.
We would never.
I have a desk treadmill in my home office.
I hate you.
So
what are you talking about? I want to fight you. Like when I see those commercials of those little desk treadmills where you just sit there and just swift your feet back and forth, I want to just I want to buy them all so I can snap them over
you're
my knee.
supposed to stand on those.
Like, why would that invoke so much passion from this man? Why would he say, I hate you, I want to fight you because you have a desk treadmill?
He's trying to be interesting.
Yeah,
but
that's his way of being edgy.
also, he's not understanding what a desk treadmill is if he thinks he's just, you have the little foot paddles. It's an actual treadmill.
Oh, yeah, no, he fucks that up completely.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
But then clip number 6, when you have a gem like this, you got to go out on a high note, which is why you get into you explore these sort of topics.
Ah, okay.
Audrey wanted to bring a standing treadmill.
I support her.
For the studio.
No.
We're not a standing radio show.
Well,
we are a sitting radio show.
Yeah, the only thing about that is you'll hear it go like all morning long on the mic.
Like that is the treadmill, right?
Oh, I love the hard out. Let's go on a high note, boys.
That was a vibrator joke. Oh, man. Audrey's going to be so pissed. She's going to HR with that. Oh, that was pretty good. There's a lot of that where they say whatever they're saying, and then it gets right into the bumper, and they're out. They do a very good job with that.
What's creepy about that is the way that obviously this show is like somewhat pre-recorded to an extent. So they must be having this conversation, and then afterwards go, you know what? We should leave on my vibrator joke. That should be the hard out. Like I really nailed that one.
Well, I have an example for you here. They read this crazy prep burger story because all of these stories on these radio shows are ones that are just inconsequential and no one's reporting on it. If you read the Wall Street Journal or USA Today in the morning, you're not stumbling across the story.
Yeah, these are not top headlines.
You're right. So here's an example of that.
This is a flight from Guadalajara to Mexico City, delayed more than 2 hours due to an infestation in the main passenger cabin by a gigantic swarm of mosquitoes.
Oh, no. You're just stuck on in a metal tube with a ton of mosquitoes in there?
Attacked by mosquitoes. I mean, I'm sure those mosquitoes are like, hell yeah.
Yeah, there's a buffet.
The flight scheduled to depart at 4:30 p.m. local time was delayed until about 7 o'clock while crews and passengers attempted to manage the insects. Passengers were seen swatting away at the mosquitoes, and the flight attendants actually sprayed bug spray in an effort to get rid of the insects. Glad that they had off in the cabin.
Sure.
But eventually, they were dissipated. The lights turned off in the passenger compartment. I guess there's some sort of heavy vegetation near the Guadalajara airport or something. But the fact that a swarm of mosquitoes made it into a cabin of an airplane is just like, that's just
we've
awful.
heard stories of snakes on a mother freaking plane.
Mm-hmm.
But I think mosquitoes may be taking this to a whole other level.
Mahoney, do you get to join the Mile High Club if you get sucked by a mosquito on an airplane?
I'm pretty sure that counts, Dave.
This is Dave and Mahoney.
Nice. This dude is fucking corny.
So I knew snakes on a plane was going to come up. That was the low-hanging fruit. Yeah, go figure.
I'm surprised he didn't do a Samuel L., though. I mean, maybe that's a little too edgy these days. Still get fired,
probably.
but
You probably get fired for that. Correct. But then when he's like, is that the Mile... He had to work in the Mile High Club somehow.
Oh, yeah. If you get sucked by a mosquito. Ooh,
and that was it. Like that was their little segment that they had right there. So you got a minute 15, introduces a topic, 2 bad jokes, and we're out.
Yep.
Some guy saying, "Oh, that's gotta suck."
Oh, wow, that's crazy, huh? All right, Mike, I'm going to play you this clip.
Okay.
Because I think this shows, and I don't know the difference between Dave and Mahoney. I haven't gotten that advanced into
I
this.
think Mahoney's a little more like like his life ain't quite together yet, and Dave's a little more the straight man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Mahoney's the jokester. Okay.
Yeah.
So whichever guy this is, you might want to get him on Why Are You Laughing? Because if people don't know, Blind Mike is a huge fan of comedy.
True.
And he breaks down the history of comedy, going over comedians and careers and comedy specials and all these different things. And Mike brings a good insight into it because he is a fan and he does his research. And I think this guy also brings that same level of analysis that you need when analyzing comics.
Oh, good.
And finally, since you love Adam Sandler and I love Adam Sandler, he is going to be doing a new animated feature with Bill Burr. So he's going to voice one of the characters.
Really?
In a musical comedy film called Leo that's going to be on Netflix starting on November 21st.
Two of the guys who I am just a huge fan of, and you think about like styles of comedy and how vastly different Adam Sandler and Bill Burr are in their styles of comedy. But I think this will work great. It's two guys who I love, and I'm excited to hear, both incredible voice actors in their own right.
So the story revolves around Leo, who is a 74-year-old lizard, and he is a class pet lizard.
Okay.
And he plans to escape his classroom terrarium and experience life outside upon learning he only has 1 year left to live. However, he becomes entangled in the problems of his anxious students and a very mean substitute teacher.
Is the mean substitute teacher played by Bill Burr?
I think so.
That's I don't know.
Dumb.
Well,
So the guy said nothing. He's like, I like Adam Sandler and Bill Burr, but like one of the guys does jokes like this, the other guy does jokes like that. But I think that'll work together because you got this lizard and he's like old and wants to get out. So that sounds really good.
Also, like, I like Adam Sandler and I like Bill Burr, and that sounds terrible.
That sounds like the worst show ever.
I'm not excited.
That sounds so fucking stupid.
And like Bill Burr, so F is for Family was a good cartoon that Bill Burr did on Netflix. But I don't think of him as, I enjoyed it, but I don't think of him as a skilled voice guy. He was doing his voice.
No, he's not a voice guy.
If you got to give Bill Burr anything, it's that he's a skilled voice actor.
Right, yes. He plays an amazing villain in Star Wars. That's the one thing I know about Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not it that he's known for at all. Anyway, so maybe he won't be getting the call to join Why Are You Laughing after all.
Well, I'll still mull it over.
There.
I'm not closed-minded.
Okay, very good. All right, Mike, what else did you pick up on from this?
Well, I teased you guys, and I started you with a little bad news. They start with good news, bad news every day. Would you like to hear a little good news?
I am ready for it, but first we got to take a quick break. All right, we're back, and Blind Mike was just talking about setting up some good news.
Well, I was just asking you fellas if you wanted to hear a little good news.
Yeah. I'll remember.
Because my clip number 4 is chock full of what these gentlemen consider good news to start your morning.
Some good news today as well, that crazy chick Carly Russell has been found guilty for faking her own abduction. So found guilty on fabricating a false kidnapping story in Alabama. The judge recommended a 1-year jail sentence for her.
Who is that good news for? How does that help me at all?
The victims, I suppose. I don't know.
Great. Good job.
These guys get so, like, their structure is, hey, we start the morning, and I ask you, do you want good news or bad news? So if nothing lines up into good news, they just have to pick a story and be like, we're going to frame this as good news.
Yeah. It's just news.
Yeah. This is an example that
Chris,
started the show
news,
off.
to be frank with you.
This is a show this week where they kick it off with that.
Microsoft has been doing what a lot of companies do, right? Where they're hiding the amount of money that they're actually making, or they're saying that these expenses are legitimate expenses when maybe they weren't, but to the tune of $28.9 billion.
That is a whole lot of money, Dave. And hey, stop asking me if I want to upgrade to Windows 11.
Yeah, also,
tired of that.
When you want to cancel something with Microsoft, it's damn near impossible. So I don't really feel that bad that they are getting hit with a $30 billion fine.
Suck it, Bill Gates.
This is Dave and Mahoney.
So they read a story. This was the bad news. Microsoft owes $29 billion in back taxes. And their big hot take is, suck it, Bill Gates. And I don't want to update to Windows 11.
But if that's your take, like, fuck Bill Gates, then why is it in the bad news section?
Well, the bad news is that they're not paying their taxes, and of course, we need that money to hand over to Ukraine.
But you see what I'm saying? Is like it's technically bad news. I guess
It could be either one, right? Either of these things could be either thing. Also, Bill Gates hasn't worked at Microsoft in
that's true too. I didn't even think of that.
I mean, it's just like, but sucking Bill Gates. All right, yeah.
But what's with his haircut? Huh? Am I right?
Well, okay, whatever. If you say so. So I brought up before Adam Sandler. Because he's got this new show with Bill Burr.
Yeah.
And so they're talking about Adam Sandler. Now, he used to be on the show called Saturday Night Live.
Oh.
And I guess this goes back to the point that producer Chris made earlier. This is a show for old guys. Because they're reminiscing about a time 35 years ago when you could see Adam Sandler on there.
Wasn't that cool?
At some point during his run on Saturday Night Live, Adam Sandler did a rendition of Pearl Jam.
I feel like every Adam Sandler skit on SNL was musical in some way, shape, or form.
Okay, so now they're setting up this bit they want to play of Adam Sandler doing an Eddie Vedder impression. And this is probably the worst thing that Adam Sandler ever did on SNL, but for whatever reason, they're playing it, they're excited about it.
And the Pearl Jam song Even Flow on Saturday Night Live is just about perfect. And can you really tell if he has changed the lyrics in any way or not?
Please don't quit yet, Michael. Oh, yeah. You're the best dribbler. Oh, yeah. Oh, hey. Who's even gonna pass you? Oh, yeah. Oh, dear. It's so boring.
I just love Adam Sandler.
What the fuck was that? Yeah, we know.
It was not one of his better bits.
Yeah, you made us sit through that. We know you love him.
But also, was the
can you
setup
tell
to
he's
that
changing the lyrics? Wow.
Was the setup to that like, hey, see if you can tell any difference?
Yeah.
Because you clearly can't. The joke is that you can. He's making like Michael
Correct.
Jordan references.
Correct. Yes. Also, I heard this on the Drew and Mike show. Do you hear Scottie Pippen's ex-wife is dating Michael Jordan's son right now?
As a matter of fact, yes, I did know that.
What an asshole. What a dick move that is.
I kind of respect it.
You respect it? You're about Jordan's son. I mean,
Just making
that's
this
a
guy
weird move
feel less
there.
than Jordan at every stage of his life. He can't escape it.
It's fucked up, man. Poor Scotty. He's already the ugliest black man to ever exist. All right, maybe Rodman's got a beat. Maybe on that team he was the second ugliest man, but still. And now his ex-wife is banging Jordan's son. You know she's sending dick pics too.
Yeah.
That's rough. That is rough. All right, Mike.
Let's see here. Let's go to clip. Well, we've heard a lot of their bold stances, and this is, again, what I'm talking about. Clip 15, I think, shows where these guys can take a controversial take and really know how to turn it on its ear and give it to us in a way we've never heard before.
Some good news today as well. I mean, one-time science. Come on. Experimental cancer vaccine showing it clears 4 in 10 pancreatic tumors and prevents disease from returning, according to a new study on mice. And you talk about, one of the most devastating cancers there is, and it's pancreatic cancer.
I mean, that's the one that, unfortunately, you see so many people. I mean, there's usually, when you hear somebody has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, there is really not much that can be done. So the fact that we are making advancements to possibly find a cure for this and work on it, man, this is the kind of real science that we need here on the planet.
It's just unbelievable how they're able to figure these things out. So this vaccine uses a weakened salmonella bacteria to trigger an immune response containing a piece of the recipient's tumor to train the body to fight the cancer.
First of all, you're giving us way too much information, but also the idea, like, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Cancer, I mean, not great. I don't love it being around, and I'd like to get rid of it.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but I've known people who have died from cancer.
Carl, they say a lot of people, if you pull their life in some way, is impacted by cancer, as a matter of fact. You're not alone in that struggle. Yeah.
No shit. Well, I'm glad these guys are bringing it up during my commute to work. I'm really glad they're bringing that up.
Japanese fart enthusiast in the Discord says they can't even come up with their own unfunny bits.
Yeah, I know they're playing Adam Sandler's unfunny bits on here.
Oh, well, that's something, too, is like you guys might notice every clip that Carl and I have pulled are either good news, bad news, or answering a voicemail. And that's not because those were the best segments. Those are the only segments. That's the entire show.
SNL memories.
Did you happen to notice, like, are they on, like, from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., like a regular morning show?
I wish I would have looked into that. I did not.
The only reason I find it interesting is because it seems like their podcast that they put out is the entirety of their show. Like, so they take out the commercials and music breaks. Which, if that's true, that's fascinating because both shows that I listened to were an hour 5 and an hour 7. So, which means they're not on air for 2 or 3 hours of their shift.
Right, 25% of the time they're doing something at work.
Yeah, yes,
which
exactly.
Is not a great ratio. Where I'm from, but all right, let's get back into these voicemailers. These great jumping off points as far as a conversation you can have.
If the Titanic had avoided the iceberg, you would probably never have known it existed. Message deleted.
I think that's untrue, just considering the hype that was around the Titanic that existed. It was the world's biggest ship.
That's boring. You're boring, everybody. Quit boring everyone.
It tells me if they are real voicemails, they're not getting a lot of them. If that's one they have to play on there, if the Titanic hadn't the iceberg, we wouldn't be talking about the Titanic. That might have been interesting in 1998 or whenever that movie came out.
Right.
When people were talking about the Titanic. But in 2023, we're going to debate whether the Titanic would be interesting if all these people hadn't died.
Right.
An old person would appreciate that.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah.
But again, it's voicemails that aren't specific to their show.
You're
it's
right.
not taking a theme of their show and expanding on it. It's just these like, hey, is a hot dog a sandwich sort of bullshit?
So
that anyone can
answer. It reminds me of when Opie was playing with that weird app where you could get guests on your podcast randomly.
Yeah.
Like all you do is you go on there and you're like, hey, what do you do? And he was like playing around with that. It's like so generic. It's like they've signed up for this generic voicemail service where you're like, you can play voicemails that are actually real people and not bots.
That's better for Opie because he can't do the man in the street thing without offending people.
That's true. Yeah, he better just talk
terrifying
to
them.
voicemails.
Yeah. Well, I think
since everyone's getting really excited about this, I do want to plug this for everyone.
Call our voicemail and say anything you want.
Anything?
Well, almost anything. Call 833-YO-DUMMY to be a part of the Dave and Mahoney Show.
833-YO-DUMMY is what you can call and say anything. Well, almost anything. Right after that, they're just like, wow, you can get pretty nuts on this thing.
Yeah.
Listen to this. This is probably the worst voicemail you'll ever hear in your life. This is worse than, hey, grandma's dead. This is the worst voicemail. It's kind of funny.
Please leave a message after the tone.
That's right. There's nothing like a fresh pair, clean, new pair of socks to put on. And after I slip them on, it's like, oh, yeah.
Message deleted.
The guy goes, there's nothing like a fresh new pair of socks putting on your feet. And they played that on the show. And you might think they'd go, all right, never call us again, sir. But no. There's banter that comes out of this.
Of course there is. That's an interesting point.
The most boring conversation you've ever heard.
Yeah.
And imagine.
You never think about how wonderful it is putting on a fresh, brand new pair of socks right out of the bag until you do it and you're like,
The bottoms are still white.
Yeah.
And not brown.
But just imagine that feeling if you haven't had a new pair of socks in months or years.
You talk about an incredible gift to someone. I mean, you think about all the people out there that, are in really unfortunate situations.
Dire straits.
Yeah, and a lot of times kids as well.
Hold on a second. Think about the people in dire straits and kids as well, and how great the gift of socks would be for them.
That's what I always dreamed of under the Christmas tree was a nice pair of socks.
This isn't like they're setting up a joke.
No.
This is just their regular banter.
It sounds like they don't understand things.
Imagine someone's in dire straits and you're like, I know this has been a rough year for you. You're trying to kick the addiction and, you're going from couch to couch. Here's some socks.
Adidas, pretty good.
I was thinking of you. So hold on. This continues. And then Michael get right. I know. Hold on to your thoughts. Hold on.
They don't know the feeling of putting on a clean pair of socks because it's been so long. Mm-hmm. Like that's a really incredible gift to give to someone.
Please leave a message after the tone.
That's the end of it?
That was the end of it.
Oh.
That's a really incredible gift to give someone. Socks.
Instead of ripping the voicemailer an asshole.
Yes.
Oh.
They approach every topic with the passion of someone who's in like the high school debate team.
Yeah,
and they were like,
sad.
okay, the topic you have to defend is getting socks for Christmas. And they're like, oh, well, I mean, what a terrific, imagine if you were in dire straits.
It does.
Like, they
it
have no
sounds
real
like a
thoughts
challenge
about any of these topics. And if I could also say, the thing I was going to say earlier is, the voice that says, call 1-800-YO-DUMMY, where you can say anything. Well, almost anything.
833-YO-DUMMY, but yes, go ahead.
I think that's a Boston rate. I'm pretty sure I know who that is.
Oh, really?
I think it's this guy Hardy that works for 98.5 in Boston. I'm pretty sure that's him, which is kind of funny. But
good to know. So they're outsourcing that.
If you want to hear one more example of this bullshit, my clip 13 takes on a topic that, again, so specific. It's got to be specific to this radio. These guys must be big fans of The Weeknd. I don't know about you boys, but I think they like when they finally clock out for the week.
Taking the mental health day to make a 3-day weekend. Are you the one who takes the Friday off and starts the weekend early? Or the one who takes Monday off and comes back to a 4-day week? Which one?
Message deleted.
Delayed gratification is always the best, and the idea of taking Friday off, there's nothing wrong with it. I like a 3-day weekend that starts with a Friday off.
Do you
just as much as everyone else? But if I have my choice, and let's say that in a magical hypothetical world, that'll never happen, where all companies decide that it's a good idea to do a 4-day work week, I'm choosing
opting for Monday.
Mondays off every single time.
I'm with you, because when you start the week on Tuesday, it's really like the Monday.
Yeah.
And you kind of, but like Fridays, you're already half-assing it.
Right.
Anyway.
Fridays are a good time.
Yeah. You can't half-ass it on a Thursday.
We drink beer on Friday mornings, and no one bats an eye.
Yep.
If we did Margarita Mondays, everyone would be like, this guy's got a problem.
Let me ask you this, though. If that happens, does that make Tuesday the most productive day of the week still? Or is that going to move to Wednesday?
That's going to move to Wednesday.
Fucking thing sucks.
Sure does.
I like, first of all, a couple things. I like that Mahoney could come up stumbling into work, and they're like, oh, must be a Friday. he's shit-faced again. Must be Friday morning.
And I'll bet he's... Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that these guys have put themselves in a situation where they can't say to anything, I don't really give a fuck. Like, who cares about that topic? They have to have a take on the most banal items of just mundane, everyday life.
I was just going to say, I'll bet even when they're hammered, they're just as boring.
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course.
Probably so.
Well, and one of the most boring things you can talk about, we've covered this on the show before, is dreams.
Yes.
Dreams didn't happen. We all have dreams. Don't talk about them. Shut the fuck up. Yeah. Unless you're a hot chick and you had a wet dream about me, I'm listening. Then I'm listening.
I would even listen.
Well, what's your angle here, lady?
Have you ever had a dream that significantly impacted your waking life? Like, like forgetting a conversation, listening in the mind. Oh, my message deleted.
I had a dream, and I've shared this with you guys. This was like maybe a year ago or something like that.
Jesus! Not even last night, a year ago?
And you remember it?
And we're going to talk about
that? He really is boring.
Oh, unless
you guys remember one of my famous
Jr.,
dreams.
I don't care about your fucking dream.
This again?
All right. So, guys, we've been talking about voicemails and obnoxious conversations. I'm going to change things up for us because they play a game. They play a game with a caller. It's called Cover Your Ears. Just like when we were talking about with John Boy and Billy, let's win prizes. More ways to win prizes. We got to win. Time to win.
Dave and Mahoney. You know the songs, but do you know them when they sound this bad?
These are the days. It never rains but it pours.
It's Cover Your Ears on Dave and Mahoney.
Kelly is joining us today for a round of Cover Your Ears.
So we were talking about this earlier, Mike, how radio hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. That Max Headroom thing, where it's like, hey, like, it has to do that weird repetition thing.
Yeah.
Why is that still a thing? Why was that ever a thing?
I don't know.
This goes back to the
It's
90s.
rock and roll, man. It sounds cool.
It's Cover Your Ears on Dave and Mahoney.
Kelly is joining us today for a round of Cover Your Ears. Kelly, you ready to do this thing?
Oh, hello?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, sorry, it kind of cut out. I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you for asking. We got 30 seconds on the clock for each one of these. Let the full 30 seconds play out before you make your guess. You're looking for the artist and the song in order to get a full point. Mahoney is here as a lifeline if you need him. But good luck to you. Here is song number one.
Mother told me, as she told me, I meet girls like you. She also told me, stay away. You never know what you'll catch.
So this goes on all the way up until the chorus. And it's just like, the guy sings it so badly, it's going to be hard to figure out. Like, if I was at a bar and the guy was doing that in the corner, I wouldn't bat an eye. It sounds fine.
I don't know music, and I knew immediately what the song was.
Yeah, of course. This is not a good game.
But you haven't heard Christian Blatt do it.
Oh, that's true. I forgot Christian Blatt did that with us. Okay, so she gets that one right, Cheap Trick Surrender. All right, and then she gets the next one right, and then this is the next one after that.
Well done. 2 points. No lifelines burnt. You're doing fantastic. And the next one here has got 33,000 views.
Okay, so kicking it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So again, they do the whole song up until the chorus, burning down the house. And she's just like, yeah, it's Talking Heads. Like, yeah, this is not, it's not even a fucking game. What are we doing right now?
Filling time.
Just cover bands playing songs? Okay, so this is the last one. This is For the Win. Let's see if you guys can get this one right, because it obviously gets harder and harder as you go. You know, just like any other
Sure.
game would. Yeah. Just like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Like you can't have the easy question at the end. It's going to be tough.
All right, so you can win it right here without using any lifelines if you were able to get this one with a full point. This is from Rubber Chicken. It's got 14.5 thousand views. So again, pretty popular. Good luck.
I mean, the guitar riff is there. It's an unmistakable. It's Immigrant
Right.
Song by Led Zeppelin. It's just like, ugh, the fuck kind of game is this?
Yeah,
Even
it's
though-
it's a game like I wouldn't necessarily know but I know every song they've played. I'm like, oh yeah, I know that song. I might not know the band or whatever, but I'm not a music guy. Anyone that's trying to win this competition, quote unquote, should easily be able to.
You might not know Led Zeppelin. Is that what you just told me?
Well, you know what I mean. I'm saying in general when they play
Okay,
it.
fair enough. Now, there's another fun part to this show. At the end, their producer comes in. He puts together a blooper reel. Who doesn't love a blooper reel? It's so fun.
Sure.
So here we go. Bloopers, everybody.
This is Dave and Mahoney. Because there's really no point in pretending to be... Hold on, what? Because there's really no point in pretending to be good at this? Oh, okay, let me pick it up from here. It's an all-new blooper reel on the Dave and Mahoney.
Oh, I see.
So our executive producer, Chris, decided that he was going to do the blooper reel this week. And when I asked him how it went, he said, quote, y'all are in trouble.
This actually may be the most amount of bloopers I have ever heard in 1 week on this show. That is without Audrey.
Wow. Audrey's not even there, and they got all these
That's without the
bloopers.
dumb cunt that usually drags us down, right, guys?
Right. Yeah, can you believe it? So I have to play for you guys what these blooper reels sound like. It's so overproduced. It's so unfunny. It reminded me of One Too Many. There's this amazing movie that National Lampoon's put out, starring this guy, John Melendez, up-and-comer. You probably haven't heard of him.
Young kid.
Yeah, young kid, just starting off. And at the end of that movie, they do this blooper thing. A lot of comedies have done that, you know, especially in the last 15, 20 years. And usually, in order for the blooper to be funny, it has to be like a funny thing that happened, not just like someone flubs their line.
Generally speaking, yeah.
Generally speaking. But John's bloopers is just flubbing the lines. You're like, okay, well.
Funny, I don't know how to read.
All right, but this is their guys' bloopers.
40% of people say they find it hard to talk. 40% of people. 40%.
See, the only thing is that worries me about that, though.
Oh, my
If I
God.
pronounced worries, I'd be on a good day. That'd be good for me.
It did cross my mind.
Yeah, they're like fucking dissecting that.
And then they have to overproduce the fuck out of like what's barely a mistake.
Correct. Yeah. So
These are like big gotcha moments where if someone called me out for that, I'd be like, what a nitpicky asshole.
I get called out for this shit all the time. Just like, all right, whatever. You understood what I was saying, though, right?
Yeah. And that's coming from us.
That worries me about.
This one is entitled "You Smiled at Me," and then they didn't leave any other details. So
So that goes on for a while. Now, what they didn't play is what I picked up on when we were playing the teaser last week.
Is there any good like Irish talk shows? Because there's a bunch in the UK, like in England, but then we don't get any from Ireland.
No.
Zero. We at least got what's his name, Craig Kilborn,
but he's
from
Scottish.
from Scotland.
Yeah,
but nothing from Ireland, except for Conor McGregor's crappy whiskey.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Craig Kilborn, the Scottish guy. Scottish talk show
the
host.
Phillies are playing the Braves today.
Yeah, right.
That's right. He
Welcome
started
to
in
Sports Center, matey.
Yeah. Those Scots, they love baseball. Now he's a pirate for some reason. Did that make the blooper reel? They knew who Craig Ferguson was? Did that make it on there? Neither guy figured it the fuck out.
Can I tell you what I catch from that, though? They call it the blooper reel. To me, that means that they're not using that in the regular show and they start their segment over when that happens.
Oh.
Is that, am I
Interesting.
wrong about that?
I have no idea. That's a good point.
To me, it seems like when they say worries instead of worries, they're like, shit, we gotta do this whole thing over.
You're right. You might be right about that. Wow. So, Mike, we're going long on this. I have too many clips. You have too many clips. Let's grab a couple more that we enjoy and we'll move on.
All right. Well, I enjoyed clip number 9 just because I want to see if you guys pick up on something that I noticed from this clip.
Okay.
He loves a good fun fact, and he's going to give one about Arby's here.
Nice.
Jason is joining us today for a round of fast food freakouts. Jason, let me ask you your favorite fast food of choice. What is it?
I'm going to have to go with Arby's.
Arby's, what an excellent choice. They got the meats.
Do you know that Arby's got their name from roast beef because it's supposed to be R&B, hence Arby's for roast beef?
I did learn that recently from
I did not know that. You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
The one guy goes, yeah, you've been repeating this over and over to me. Yes, I'm aware.
Yeah.
Stop telling me your fucking Arby's fact.
First off, everyone knows that. It's not a fun fact.
Well, that too, yeah.
Also, the guy, what's your favorite fast food? The guy goes, Arby's. He goes, that's a good choice. No, it's not.
Yeah, two liars.
Yeah, it's the worst choice. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Well, what in that context, what would be a bad, like if you said fucking Wendy's, would you be, I'm never going to fucking talk to you again, prick. Lose our number.
All right, good point. I'm not sure what the answer is for that.
And then I guess I'll just say one more that isn't as repetitive as the others. Might be clip 11, where you kind of get like, oh, these are, you forget, yes, obviously they're airheads because they have no interest in talking about interesting things.
Yeah.
But they're polished enough that you almost forget they're probably dumb too. Like clip number 11.
Yeah, and it's always like there's these boats that keep going by that we keep missing. You know, you talk about these massive increases in houses. Like if we had just had the foresight to buy a $2 million house right when COVID hit, when it could have gone to zero, then it would be a $5 million house now. But just didn't quite have the money at the time, and dang, here we are.
Like if only I had the foresight to buy a house in February of 2020, I guess is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like you're an idiot if you didn't do that.
If only I knew the lottery numbers before they announced them.
Good point.
No, there's a lot of things you can do to make money, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. It's like they're literally having a time machine argument on this fucking show and presenting it as real.
All right, I have one more clip that I need to play for us because it reminds me of a good friend of mine here.
I mean, out of all the things that you would break into a store for, vodka, of all things? I mean, you can go to a liquor store and get a gigantic bottle of vodka if it's the cheap stuff for like $10.
You could get even cheaper than that, Dave, if you want to go, like, just get yourself a little pint,
All right, so first off, they're goofing on, this is the Redneck Report, they're goofing on a guy for stealing vodka, which is funny because I've watched the footage of Chad doing that.
Please clap.
But the guy goes, yeah, why would you steal vodka? It's cheap already. You get a big thing for $10. He's like, well, if you want to spend less than that, you can get a smaller thing. Yeah. No shit.
I'd like to subscribe to your newsletter.
You're making a lot of good points over there, retard. Thanks.
If you really want to save money, nips. They're 1 ounce. Go for that. Consider that, buddy.
All right, one more, because I'm not even sure if they finished this conversation and the sounders already come in and just interrupt them. I'm not
Wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if they've wrapped this one up or not.
Dave, why is it that every meth head wants to drive a car that looks like a cop car? You see those busted out Crown Vics with the light on it. It's never somebody who's well adjusted.
No, it's always somebody that definitely has drugs on it.
This is Dave and Mahoney.
Were you going to make a point? All right, well, I guess
the producer's like, what the fuck?
Where are we going with this guy? That's enough.
This is what these guys do. Is like, I don't even know that stereotype. Like, meth heads are always driving Crown Vics. I've never heard
you
that.
You didn't know that? That's all we talk about over here.
I'm out of touch. I live a sheltered life.
Sure.
They hate the cops, but they love the cop cars.
I see what you did. All right. So if there's nothing else to play here, Mike, I'll just double check with you.
Yeah, I think other than that, it's pretty much all stuff we covered because, like I said, their entire show is voicemails and good news, bad news. Did you find in your episode a different bit than that? Those are the only... Oh, in the game.
I had that one game that we played.
They play a game. They played those in my episodes, too.
Yeah. Can you figure out what song this is where the guy is singing every note perfectly and singing all the lyrics? Like, yeah, I can figure out what song that is, actually.
I speak English.
Pretty tough game, guys. Good one.
Yeah.
I think of, Name That Tune, where literally they play 2 notes and someone's just like, oh, that's Genesis. Someone fucking knows what it is. Like, that's impressive to me. These people are listening to cover songs for 38 seconds straight. And they're like, all right, what song was that? Anyway.
Well, okay. We could do clip 2, I guess, they talk about there's some story with like Family Dollar or something, and this is the sort of improv that they feel comfortable with putting out there. Again, because now that I've now established that they retake these, and they're still like, this was pretty good. This is not a blooper.
Well, I don't know if this has anything to do with it. Probably not. But if you have been taking medication because you've also been a little under the weather, Family Dollar is recalling numerous products, including over-the-counter drugs. A lot of them have to do with colds due to improper storage in 23 states.
I don't love this.
So various pain relievers, treatment creams, cough suppressants, laxatives, eye drops, toothpaste, and more. And running it down, it's Alabama, Arkansas, Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, North Dakota, Nebraska, New Mexico, Nevada, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming.
Are you doing that Johnny Cash song like I've been everywhere, man?
Oh, no.
Are you doing the thing that every time someone lists a number of states someone mentions? Are you doing that right now?
These are the fucking kings of low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a little pissed.
Well, that's what I noticed listening to this show and comparing it with the radio shows you guys have talked about, where it's like, boy, it really is. They're making zero effort to make original shows anymore. I guess because they're afraid of, like, radio, I will say, is the business that got hurt the most by whatever you want to call it, cancel culture or whatever. Radio by far reacted the harshest to firing any sort of personality, like getting rid of any originality or unique content.
Yeah, E-Rock and I have talked about this quite a bit. He'll be on the show coming up soon.
Or will he?
And that was his whole thing, is that, or maybe not. His whole thing was just like, radio should have invested in personalities. When they started to see podcasting crop up and people were going to alternative media, they should have said, okay, but if we own the personality, like SiriusXM did that. Like, well, we own Howard Stern. So if you want Howard Stern, you got to come to us to do it. And radio did the opposite. They're just like, all right, we'll just get bots to play songs that everyone's heard 1,000 times.
You got to survive and tread water.
Yeah, right. It's just like, let's do the cheapest thing possible.
Yeah.
Well, that was
well,
dumb.
that's, I mean, like, I'm on the Kirk Minahan show twice a week, and Kirk's a guy that was #1 in Boston, and because of an activist, the radio station got terrified and got rid of him. Now, not just that radio station, their ratings are in the shitter. The company is worth, like, their stock is at like 9 cents or something. Like, they're going to get delisted, or they have been delisted, I think. Meanwhile, Kirk went to work for Barstool that was evaluated at $500 million. So, like, the radio is making the wrong choice at every turn with all these personalities because they're afraid.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think they are playing it safe for that reason, but they're also probably making nothing.
Right.
When I listen to these radio guys, I used to be not jealous, but if envious is a different term, I used to be envious of guys who had a morning radio show. Like, holy shit, 4 hours a day, making 6 figures. You know, some of these guys, even in Rochester, making $250,000 or more a year. And what a fun gig that is. You're shooting the shit with your buddies and all this stuff. And now I would not take any of these jobs.
No, I mean, the station
seems so miserable.
There's a station, and maybe everyone won't know what this means if you're not like a diehard radio fan, but there's a station in Boston, a sports radio station, that does in the 20s. Every morning, middays, and afternoons, they all do in the 20s for ratings. And that station had layoffs last year. Like,
that's insane.
It's insane. It doesn't make any sense.
1 out of 5 cars is tuned into this station.
Yes, and they still can't afford to keep the lights on.
Well, yeah, there's no money in this. I can't imagine starting a small business and being like, well, as soon as we get on the radio, people are going to start piling into this place. It's going to be, we're going to be overwhelmed with customers.
Who are these podcasts? WA